Hi, this is Jason McCarthy at Wycombe Wanderers, and you're listening to Wycombe Sound.
The Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Coming up on this week's edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show, in a few moments' time we'll hear from Phil. We've got our match debrief, looking back briefly at Saturday's game, and in a bit more detail on Tuesday's fantastic result at Bristol Rovers, and we'll hear from their manager Matt Bloomfield, and also goal scorer Brandon Hanlon as well. We'll catch up with Max Stryjek, a bit of a preview of a feature coming to Wanderers TV very soon. The goalkeeper volunteers in Stokenchurch along with his dog Major. More on that to come. We'll catch up with John Bignall and JDT as well from the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association, who today have been celebrating the life of Brian Lee, the former Wycombe Wanderers manager and chairman's funeral took place today, and celebration of life at Adams Park. So we'll be reflecting on that as well. With Wycombe Wanderers Women, we'll hear from the manager Carl Simon and also Freya Harris as well. We'll catch up with Alfie Mawson, who we've been speaking to at Adams Park today. He'll be having a celebration of his career at the home game with Barnsley on Saturday. We'll look ahead to that fixture as well with the manager, who we also spoke to a bit earlier on today. So lots to bring you, as you can imagine. Always like to pack in plenty in an hour of the Wycombe Wanderers Show. So let's first kick off with Phil, and obviously reflecting on Tuesday night's rather excellent and uplifting result, which took us to within 3 points of the playoffs.
Yeah, I think a few people say it's a must-win game, but I think it puts pressure on, doesn't it, on those? But it really was important to get the 3 points, with Bolton Wanderers not playing, and a few of the other teams above us not playing either. And Bolton playing Sheffield Wednesday on Friday night. That's going to be a tough game for them. So real opportunity to make up some ground, and they did really well. And you know, it's always nice to see Joe Barton, and it's even better when he wins.
And a nice response to Saturday as well.
Yeah, fantastic, because it was a really tough game on the Saturday, and credit to Burton, as we've said before. They deserved the win on the day in tricky conditions, and Wycombe in tough conditions again, but this time off the pitch with the illness and injury, losing Sam Vokes and to injury, Nick Freeman and David Wheeler to illness. And the youngsters are stepping up, which is fantastic to see. Really, really exciting. TJ DeBar I thought was magnificent first half, and part of the second half he played. The booking, he needs to cut that out of his game, but it's going to be tough because he's an aggressive player. But yeah, I thought he did really, really well. The tackle for the assist for the goal, it kind of sums him up, doesn't it? You know, he tackles and assists at the same time. Brandon Hanlon's finish was magnificent, and yeah, apparently it was all down to the pitch. But I thought Wycombe played pretty well.
So what sort of pleased you most about the performance?
I just think that the way that Wycombe played, I thought there was some really good passing football on a very tricky pitch by all accounts, and yeah, I thought they sort of managed the midfield well. Bristol Rovers are a good side; they've got some really good players, you know, and I'm surprised they're as low as they are in the table with the squad that they've got available to them. Although it's their first season back, and it's always the goal to not be relegated, but you know, that's 6 points we've taken off them now. They're a decent side. Joe Barton's a good manager, so I think the nature of the win, the 2-0, the clean sheet, although that was largely due to the fantastic double save to Max Stryjek, although I thought we defended well at times, but when Bristol Rovers did get in, which they would do, I thought Max was superb. So yeah, wonderful to get the 2-0, the clean sheet, the 3 points, a perfect away day really. So yeah, onwards to Saturday and what will be an emotional game against Barnsley, but after the game, Matt Bloomfield, was buzzing, as you'd expect.
You know, we've had some really, really tough games here over the years. Never an easy place to come. You know, the crowd get right behind them, and Joey's got a good team here, so we knew we were going to be in for a tough game. But obviously, I'm really, really proud of the way the boys played tonight. I thought we defended with resilience, we attacked with some real quality at times. So yeah, obviously, really, really pleased to bounce back from Saturday's result at Burton. You know, there's loads of positives about Saturday's result, but I think at times they can get lost in the result, the actual performance. So tonight we have to be proud of both the performance and the result.
No Sam Vokes due to injury. It gave the opportunity to TJ DeBar for his first league start, and did excellent.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I thought he was very, very good. TJ, he's been chomping at the bit for obviously before I came back, I've heard all the reports about how he's been training and waiting for his opportunity. We lost Vokesy, so it seemed like the right time to bring in TJ, and I thought he grabbed it with both hands. He was very good both in and out of possession, and he kept a goal threat for us. He won the ball back for Brandon's goal in the first half, and I thought he was very good. He took his chance. I'm pleased for him.
And Brandon Hanlon proves the rule again, playing against your former club. You invariably score, and he did tonight.
Yeah, I think Brands is a player of massive potential. I believe in him so much. I think he's, first and foremost, he's such a good guy like Brands. He really wants to do well for this club. He works hard every single day, and he posed that threat playing through the middle. I know he's been slightly wider at Vokesy in the last few games, but he grabbed his opportunity to play as the 9 tonight, and he was a constant threat all night and took his goal extremely well.
Good 90 minutes plus as well for Josh Scowen, who came off the bench on Saturday, but that must be a big boost to see him get through tonight's game.
Yeah, most certainly so. I think we all know what a big player Josh is. I thought Nick was incredibly good against Fleetwood, so deserved to stay in the team on Saturday, and also Joshy was obviously coming back from his hamstring injury, so Josh is always a miss when he's not in the team, but he came in tonight, played 90 minutes, and I thought him and Winger were excellent in the middle of the park.
And David Wheeler and Nick Freeman missing out through illness. Is that a concern with the way the squad are? It's a tight environment up at the training ground, etc. Is that a concern?
Yeah, most certainly so. I mean, losing those boys. We lost Wheels yesterday. We only lost him on the day of the game today. I got a call from Nick about 1 o'clock this afternoon, an hour before we left the training ground. So, that was obviously a concern. We've got an extremely tight squad at this moment in time. A small squad. You can see from the bench we've got all the development boys backing it up. So it's hard to rotate too much. So we'll have to count the bodies, see if we can get Wheels and Nick back for the game at the weekend, and hopefully we don't lose anyone else.
Really pleasing for him, and great, as you say, in his sort of first few weeks in charge. Obviously, it hasn't taken him long to settle him.
Yeah, he's so driven and motivated, and he works so hard. I think fans can see that. I mean, I can certainly see it. He is absolutely dedicated to getting this club as high as he possibly can. He's dedicated to being the manager and that transition, and managing that transition, and just everyone in football's got an opinion on that, and they'll all look at the facts and think, well, he's been a player there for a long time, it's going to be a difficult thing to do, but he's working so hard to make that transition, and I think he's done it. And you see how the players respect him and how they're putting in good performances for him. It's exciting times with 10 games to go, a club legend in charge, and hopefully become a legendary manager for us as well. Fantastic to see, long may it continue.
You mentioned Brandon's goal, quite sickening, I guess, for Rovers fans to have him score against them.
Yeah, I tried to sort of extract that out of him in the interview, but he wasn't having it. I think he's just pleased to score against anybody, as all strikers are. He's had an injury hit campaign, and I don't think he is where he wants to be in the scoring charts because of the lack of game time, because of that injury. But he was brilliant on Tuesday night, not only for the goal, but when you play in that Wycombe system, when you're not when you're up front as well, especially in the wider positions, you have to do so much work defensively as well in that system. That's the way we play, and he was brilliant both going backwards and forwards with the ball. I thought he was brilliant, and the chance was difficult. The keeper may be disappointed at the near post, but he hit it so well. It was a great goal, and good to speak to him after the game as well.
Yeah, I think it was a great performance from us, because coming here is always tough, especially on a Tuesday night as well. But as you can see, we scored early, and then we scored again, and we managed to keep a clean sheet. So I feel like we've done everything right today and managed to get the 3 points. And
from a personal perspective, players always score against their former clubs, and it's happened again tonight. How did that feel to score here?
Yeah, it felt good to score here. I mean, it feels good to score in any game, do you know what I mean? It's not like it was extra special for me, but at the end of the day, I got another goal, and I just want to push on from here.
TJ DeBar got the nod as Sam Vokes was out injured tonight, and instrumental in your goal as well.
TJ's been class every time he's touched the pitch, and he finally got a chance today. He's taken it, and obviously he assisted me today, and which he's been doing every time he's come on. So it was nice to see him come and start and play well. So hopefully he pushes on from here as well.
You said tough place to come. There was a really, really heavy rainstorm in the hour before kickoff as well. What effect did that have on the pitch?
I think with the back 4 or 5 that we have, like experienced players as well, like they're comfortable in whatever it is, balls flying in left, right and centre, but I feel like I'll back my centre halves and full backs to clear the ball and to help us keep on pushing forward.
Another clean sheet for Wycombe as well. Max Stryjek with a couple of great saves tonight, one in the first half and a double save in the second half. But you defend as a team. You must take great collective pride from that clean sheet record now.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a positive taking a clean sheet today, especially when we got a tough game coming up on Saturday. So help us build confidence at the back, as well as winning 2-0, but build confidence going forward as well.
Great to hear from Brandon, of course, and you mentioned Max's clean sheet a little earlier on as well, and you spent some time with him this week as well. Great for fans to be able to hear what he does in his spare time too.
Yeah, it's wonderful to go and film, although not so wonderful to do it on a Wednesday morning straight after a late away Tuesday night. But yeah, he was, this guy just loves dogs, so to go to his local dog rescue centre in Stokenchurch, where he volunteers on his days off, and to spend a bit of time with Max, get to know Max a bit better, spend some time with Major, his Rottweiler, and get to know him a bit better as well. And yeah, interesting, it was, and also just to kind of shine the light on a fantastic local charity that does amazing work for the community. So, and lovely to see Max, this isn't something he does as part of his duties as a player. This is something he does because he loves dogs. I'm absolutely convinced he loves dogs more than he loves other humans. So yeah, it was nice to see him in his natural environment. But yeah, and also they were so vital to him settling in the area, because he had trouble finding somewhere to live with his not insignificant dog, and now he volunteers there and he's part of the community, so it's been a big part of his life down here, which is brilliant. And if it means that he keeps playing well for Wycombe Wanderers, then fantastic.
And it feels like each week when we speak to you, there are big games coming up, especially at home with teams who are in and around the table. Barnsley as well, obviously another fellow promotion chaser as well.
Yeah, this is the great thing about where we are in the season, and you have to roll the clock back too far when fans were sort of being very miserable because of the poor form at the start of the season, or the patchy nature of the results. So yeah, it's great, because when you're in the final 10 games of the season and you've got something to play for that isn't a relegation battle, it's really, really exciting, and we should enjoy this, because other teams would cut their arm off to be in our position. So yeah, we should enjoy this and we should attack it, and I'm fairly sure that the football Illuminati of the press and everything else doesn't expect Wycombe to be in the top 6. Very nice for Jay Barton to give his opinion on that as well the other night, and looking forward to him being wrong about that again as well, because he's been wrong about most other things with Wycombe Wanderers. So if he can continue that run of form, then we're a shoo-in for the top 6 maybe. Look, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a bit of a roller coaster, no doubt. There's going to be highs and lows, and even in this final 10. But look, we're in a great position, and we should really enjoy these days, and hopefully we can enjoy a few more in May when we're in the playoffs.
And something a bit more special as well for the fans to sort of celebrate Alfie Mawson's contribution as well.
Yeah, great pro, great player, great bloke, and gutting that at the age of 29. We've covered that when he announced his retirement, but it's just lovely he can come to Adams Park, where it'll be a fantastic game. Barnsley fans absolutely love him to pieces as well, because he had a great spell with them. So look, there'll be a lot of love for Alf on Saturday. He's a pretty humble guy. I'm not sure if he really wants to fuss, but I'm sure his family will enjoy it as well. But I think hopefully it will help him as well, because I think he's still coming to terms with the fact he's had to retire, and so maybe this could offer him a bit more closure as well, and also some really happy memories for him and his family too.
Brilliant to chat to you. Thank you for your time.
Always a pleasure.
A reminder that you can hear those interviews in full with Matt Bloomfield and Brandon Hanlon after the game at Bristol Rovers on Wanderers TV. Luke joins us for a new feature on the show, Wycombe Wanderers players and their animals.
Nice, I like it. It's good and catchy.
No, I like it, yes. It's all hyphenated.
Nice.
I have a bit of a fear of dogs, which is I guess
that's why I went, not you.
Tell us where you were yesterday.
It feels like it was about a week ago, but yesterday myself and Phil went to the Stokenchurch Dog Rescue in, can you guess where?
Stokenchurch?
Correct. Where, as you just heard, Max Stryjek, Super Max, walks dogs. He volunteers there and walks lots of different dogs. It's going to be in full on Wanderers TV in the next couple of days. But here is a little preview of the part where Max was walking the dog.
Max, it's a Wednesday morning early after an away day. Yeah. And you're here volunteering at Stokenchurch Dog Rescue. What does this place mean to you?
I think it's obviously, it's like a hobby really, and if I can help the dogs and help other animals.
So Max, moving down from Scotland to Stokenchurch, that's a long way. You don't really know anybody here. Has this place been sort of important for you settling in the area?
I think so, because obviously me and my girlfriend moved in here, and then we were looking for some things to do. And then one day we just walked past this place, and we obviously walked our dog Major, and then there was lots of people wearing them beautiful jackets and vests, and I was thinking, why wouldn't we just go ask if we can walk out the dogs to help them?
Well, you like wearing bright colours, don't you? So
I wouldn't say usually in my wardrobe I always got black things and like dark colours, but obviously on the pitch, and now I'm wearing these bright colours. Yeah.
I remember when you moved down, you had trouble finding somewhere to live, to rent, because of your dog, Major, and that's a big reason why dogs end up here, isn't it?
I think so, because obviously there's lots of history behind them dogs, and if you listen to some of them, it's actually really emotional. But on the other side, I think people don't realise, like, animals got their feelings, and it doesn't matter if it's a dog, cat or whatever, it still needs attention, it still needs you as a human being. That's why we decided to actually walk the dogs and then help them to actually... We even thought about adoption one day, but at this moment in time we don't know what's going to happen as well. So we've got Major, who is obviously, everything depends on him as well. We don't want him to treat other dogs, because we've got our dog as well.
Would you say you're more of a dog person than a human person? Do you like dogs more than humans?
I would say so. I think I don't know why, but I think obviously dogs are more grateful than human beings, and I think that's why being around them, it's like makes me feel good as well. And it's if I can help and also treat myself a little bit with the different animals, because it's like a kind of therapy as well.
Yeah.
Then why shouldn't I do it?
So if you've had a stressful game or a busy game or a big win or a big loss, it must be lovely to go home to see Major.
Yeah, I usually walk him. On my day off, I usually walk him about 2 hours, just so I can actually think about what was good about the game, what was wrong about the game, and then obviously he's doing his own stuff, and then that's how it goes. Yeah.
The simplicity to a dog's life, isn't it?
It's really simple. Yeah. Basically, you have to feed him, walk him, look after him like a baby, really. But
any similarities to footballers? We feed you, we train you.
Yeah,
you guys run around a bit.
Yeah, basically you've got like a baby, but actually, dogs are a bit easier to care for. Let's put it this way, than kids.
So when you got home last night, we got back from Bristol Rovers. What time would you walk through the door?
About 1 o'clock in the morning.
So he was pleased to see you, no doubt.
At the start he was asleep, but then he heard me creeping, and then he just lied in bed with me for like 20 minutes, and then he knew it's a bedtime, so he just tried to sleep next to me, which is really cute.
So win, lose or draw, Major's reaction when you walk in must be the same.
Exactly. Dogs can't really, I think they can feel emotions, obviously, but I think whatever happens, they will be there for you, and they're like the friends, the best friends really for human beings.
He's a fierce looking dog, but he seems to be a very nice temperament, and they always say dogs are like their owners. Is that a good way to describe you as well, Max?
I think my girlfriend, she always says he's like you from character, and I'm like, I'm not that bad, am I? And then actually, yeah, I would say so, because he's really energetic, obviously, and then he likes his workouts. He's got his time when actually he wants to do his own thing like me, so I presume he's similar, yeah.
Really great insight, and as I say, do keep an eye out for more on that feature on Wanderers TV, as well as Max Stryjek and his dog Major, not to mention Phil, and some camera work from Luke, of course, as well.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Still to come on this week's edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show, we'll hear from Wycombe Wanderers Women manager Carl Simon. We'll hear from the men's manager, also Matt Bloomfield, and also we'll hear from Alfie Mawson as well, who the the career of him will be celebrated at the game against Barnsley on Saturday at Adams Park. Speaking of celebrating at Adams Park, today has been a celebration of the life of former manager and chairman Brian Lee. His funeral and service took place a little earlier on today. I'm very pleased to say we can chat to JDT from the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Hi, Colin. Nice to talk to you.
And also John Bignall as well, who's at the Warm Hub at Adams Park currently. Thanks a lot for your time as well, John.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Colin.
Likewise, and JDT, just talk us through sort of what happened today and the turnout for the event.
Well, it was, as you rightly said, a celebration of a life very well led. Brian would have been 87 in a week, and it was a lovely look back at such a varied career. Everybody in Wycombe will know him as the football manager and the chairman, but perhaps a lot more won't know that he had a terrific life as a sports administrator, not only at Bisham Abbey but at Lilish Hall. And then, of course, after leaving the active service at Wycombe, although he became a WWEPA valued member, he took over basically leading the National League to the strong position it is today. So all of those different elements were explained by different people. We had Bryn Lee talking on the family. We had dear old Howard Wells talking about life at Bisham and working with Brian, and then Alan Parry in an excellent speech for the club explained how he'd met Brian in 1975 on the eve of the famous FA Cup tie with Middlesbrough, and how their friendship blossomed over 48 years, despite the fact that Alan comes from Liverpool and is a die-hard Red, and that Brian turns out to be a ardent Manchester United fan. But they disagreed on many things in football, but their feelings about referees were the same. They didn't really appreciate them.
And John, it must have been fantastic to have been at the event and shared other people's memories of Brian as well.
It was indeed, yeah. It was good to join up with lots of other ex-players. Some who'd come quite a distance to be there today, and ex-managers. Alan Game was there, and yeah, just nice for people to be able to chat and talk about those times when things were a little different in football for Wycombe Wanderers in those days, because we were a non-league side, but it was nonetheless hard fought, and these guys gave everything they did for Brian, and lots of the things sort of came through, really. I mean, Brian was a stickler for discipline, a stickler for fairness, and I think that has stayed with the people that played with him and under him really for the rest of their lives.
And JDT, I've got a copy of the Order of Service, which is excellently done as a football programme, and something which really caught my eye, which John just mentioned, actually. Lee's Laws. Tell us a bit more about that.
Well, Brian, sorry, John, Brian, as John Bignall was saying there, was an absolute stickler for everything. There were only, I thought it was one yellow card. Alan Parry reckoned it was 2 in 4 years while they were winning Isthmian League titles, scoring goals galore, playing exciting football. And in all of that time, 4 years, 1 or 2, Alan and I would disagree, 2 yellow cards. I mean, that just goes to show the kind of thing that Brian exemplified, despite the fact, as I say, that he did have his own personal upsets with referees.
And John, we spoke to Ray last week as well, and it's difficult to kind of sum up, I guess, the real influence that Brian had on the club, both sort of on the pitch and behind the scenes as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was with Ray this afternoon, and I think it was to do with the way he treated people, quite honestly, because people like Ray Eaton and Keith Mead, who were both internationals and came from Slough, along with lots of other players during that period, came to Wycombe for the reason that they heard from their international colleagues and other players that they knew that at Wycombe, Brian, he was hard, but he was fair, and he wanted to play good football, and it was a big attraction to them. They knew pretty much if they came to Wycombe, there was a fair chance that they would be enjoying life, but they'd also be winning things.
And JDT, we were fortunate to speak to Brian in the first season of the show, and something that really came across is sort of the pride of the part that he played, but also obviously where the club is now as well.
Yeah, Brian was a very, very modest man, despite all his accolades. He felt that the club should change when he first came, as you know, and we've talked about it many times. It was organised, the team was selected by a selection committee. I think that lasted 3 weeks under Brian, and he said, I'm the manager, I picked the team, goodbye selection committee. And amazingly, they agreed to that. But even more amazing, of course, was the fact that they went on to unbelievable success in the non-league. He was proud to have been involved in the appointment of Martin O'Neill, which again pushed forward their claims towards the league, 2 trips to Wembley, then getting into the Football League. And then he was a great friend of Gareth Ainsworth and a great supporter of him. And Gareth spoke very movingly a couple of days after Brian died about the feeling that Brian had for the club even today, even in his late 80s. And that was tremendous. But just one other thing, you talked earlier about Lee's laws. Brian did actually have a slightly softer side, because one of the players who seemed to get away with quite a lot was a certain Tony Horseman. And Tony, as I put in this programme that we did, that the Ex-Players Association put together for the service, that Tony Horseman liked 2 or 3 pints. That was just before the game. He would have a cigarette or so on every team photograph. I've had to snowpake out the cigarette that was down by his side. But as Brian said, how do you stop a man who scored 500 goals in 900 games for Wycombe? And they had a love-hate relationship, which blossomed into a love-love relationship late on. And that was actually shown by all the players who turned up today, players from his famous 1975 sides, led by John Maskell, with Keith Searle, Dylan Evans, Keith Mead, which was fantastic. But I thought what was even more touching was the fact that Fiona Kennedy, the widow of Howard Kennedy, turned up. And this is an interesting story. She didn't know when this celebration was. Her son in Atlanta read our Facebook page and told her last night that it was happening today. And Fiona Kennedy, wife, widow of Howard, came by herself to pay tribute to the man who'd done so much for her husband. Barbie Birdseye also came by herself. Her man, Paul Birdseye, had an accident and is in a neck brace, so he couldn't come. But Barbie travelled all the way from Portsmouth by herself to say, this is our tribute from the Birdseye family. And that, I think, showed what the club means to so many people.
They really are great stories. And John, also a great credit to any manager, I guess, is sort of the calibre of players that he has under him and what they've gone on to achieve, during their careers at the club.
Well, yeah, indeed, because some of Brian's players went on to have really good careers in the pro game, because obviously we were still amateurs. People like Paul Fushillo, Peter Sotheby, Viv Busby, Kenny Swain, European Cup winners medal. So, yeah, absolutely. But Brian's sort of mantra on things really was, one of the things he said to me very, very early on was, if you cheat, you lose, and that stayed with me all of my life. And one of the other things he said was, if you only look for the negative things in life, you'll find little else. So he was quite. He had some very insightful sayings.
And JDT, you hear people say, that Brian's influence can still be felt around the club today, and I think that's a really sort of a great tribute, in fact, to the way that everyone says how sort of family orientated the club are, and so many of the ex-players are still closely connected.
Well, afterwards, I was talking to Trevor Stroud, who was formerly chairman, leader of the trust, to Ivor Beeks, again former chairman, and now the president. And what I said to them was that the Ex-Players Association are going to put forward a suggestion that there is somewhere in the ground, the very ground that Brian Lee founded, that should be named after him. I mean, to me, the Caledonian Suite doesn't mean anything. There are places in the ground that should have these people remembered. We've got Montes. We were instigated the Reardo Room. I would like to see the Brian Lee Suite, whether it's here or over in the Woodlands, because Brian Lee deserves to be remembered. Simple as that.
And John, how would you like to sort of best hope that fans remember Brian?
Well, I think, as John's just said, certainly something to be named after him would be great. It just really needs all of us that knew Brian to keep talking about him for as long as possible, really, and reminding people what we think of Frank Adams, who obviously was a great figure in the club's history, and rightly so. But Brian Lee contribution really can't be overestimated. So I think, like with all things, when people pass on, it just needs the rest of us that are still here to keep talking and telling other people in the future generations that these were the people that made the club what it is today.
And JDT, that really highlights the key role that the Ex-Players Association, can play, as you say, in continuing to sort of pass on the word and the stories.
Well, I think it was just lovely to see so many ex-players from so many eras, not just those who'd played under Brian, but others as well. And not only that, you had them from different walks of life. You had, for instance, Stuart Earp, who was the Bucks Free Press reporter. He followed me a few years later, actually. Travelled over from Oxford, long since retired, but he came to pay his respects to the man who he'd interviewed, like you do, after every game, at every event during the 70s and the 80s. And if I have one grouse, and I must air it, is that Brian Lee died on February the 12th. I haven't yet seen a single line in our so-called local paper, the Bucks Free Press. Yet Stuart Earp, who was a reporter there 30 years ago, took time out to come over. I reported on them in the 1960s. I was there in various other capacities. But we haven't yet seen, as I say, a single line, not even a letter that Brinley, the Sun, sent thanking everybody for their condolences. I haven't seen a word of that in any of their editions either.
It's really important, as you say, to be able to get the message out that for people that don't know as well that this is someone who needs to be, as you say, commemorated and celebrated.
Absolutely, and he was. That's the good thing. He was celebrated today. I know the family were sad, but they were overjoyed at the kind of reception that everything got. Howard Wells and Alan Parry did them proud in their speeches, and there was a massive turnout from the National League. And again, that's something that perhaps the Wycombe people don't know about. But Brian spent 18 years working and getting the National League to the position it is today. And as one of their speakers said, has raised millions of pounds through his idea of the trust and getting money from the Premier League to support the clubs at the lower level. So he was a Wycombe icon, but he was also a football icon.
And his role and influence, obviously, being with Bisham Abbey, many of the players that we've spoken to as well. John, just to sort of recalling the fact that they played against such great players because of Brian's contacts.
Well, that's right. I mean, Bisham Abbey did have an integral really part of the attraction as well for a lot of them, because a lot of them would have met Brian. The England amateur team trained at Bisham Abbey on a Sunday. So a lot of these people that weren't playing for Wycombe at the time, playing with Enfield and Slough and Hendon and people like that, would have met Brian there. And as I said earlier, that influence, that relationship he had with them there, encouraged them to come to Wycombe. And I think, speaking to most of them, you don't see many of them going back to their other clubs, but they still come back to Wycombe. So his influence really lives on.
And John, we mentioned that you're at the Warm Hub this evening. Fantastic that A, that's still going, but B, the ex-players have such a link with that, and I'm sure that's something that Brian would have approved of too.
Yeah, absolutely. John Maskell was in there earlier on tonight, and Vince Faulkner and Keith Samuels are next door still chatting away. The people had a nice meal. I think there's about 25 or 30 in there tonight, and we've all had a nice meal and chat together. And yeah, I mean, great that it's carried on for this extra month. That Dreams and the council and foundation have managed to keep it going. And it's been a resounding success. I think people are going to be very, very sad when it finishes.
A real pleasure to speak to you both. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing the afternoon's experiences with us.
Good to talk to you, Colin. Cheers.
Thank you, Colin.
Thank you so much. It's JDT and also John as well. John Bignall from Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association speaking to us here on Wycombe Sound.
Online, on Radio Player and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Still to come on this week's edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show, we'll hear from Alfie Mawson and Matt Bloomfield. We'll be celebrating the career of Alfie at we spoke to him today, but we'll be celebrating his career at Saturdays. That's better. This won't be in the podcast version. That's coming up before the end of the show as well. First, though, let's turn our attention to Wycombe Wanderers Women, whose first team season came to an end on Sunday with defeat in the League Cup, ending their run in that competition. Their league season ended the previous weekend. The reserves and under-18s continue, though. Craig spoke to Carl Simon, the manager, who we'll hear from in a few moments' time. But first, the thoughts of Freya Harris.
Freya, commiserations, 3-1 defeat here at Ascot. First half is where the game was won and lost. From your point of view, how did you see the game?
I thought our first half was brilliant, one of the best we've played this season. Unfortunately, we did have early errors that kind of killed us in the game, and mistakes, but everyone makes mistakes. Attacking forward, we played amazing, linking up, me, Molly, Katie, everyone overlapping plays, and it's really gutted to get the result that we did today.
Was it just down to taking chances at the end of the day?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say they definitely took their chances, and I'm pretty sure every time they took me, they've scored. So, fine.
Not the way we wanted to finish our season, but now you've had a little bit of time to reflect on the season as a whole. For you personally, how do you see the season has gone for you?
I think I've had a great season. Honestly, coming from under-18s has been, and for the first time, it's been enlightening. Having the experience to play with older people or people that obviously have more experience. Definitely been more of a positive. At the end of the season, we finally found the way we're playing, found ourselves as a team, which is annoying to get and last 2 weekends to lose. But we've still been playing amazing, and we're going to get better as it goes on.
Freya Harris speaking to Craig after the game on Sunday, and he also caught up with the manager, Carl Simon, as well.
Carl, commiserations, 3-1 defeat at Ascot in the semi-final. How did you see the game?
Difficult. We played really well. But again, it was the same thing that's hampered us all season. And we conceded in the first 2 minutes. And then another one shortly after. So in 15 minutes we were 2-0 down. And in the first half, we played some really good football. Probably some of the best football of the season, but just didn't have that finishing, that cutting edge to make the good opportunities that we had count. The good ball possession we had, we weren't able to carve out some really good opportunities. We're getting into the final third really well, some really nice combinations, but we just weren't able to execute at the final. And look, let's be fair, Ascot are a really good team. They're not taking the league for nothing. The goalkeeper was excellent, superb she was, and so with their defence, they did everything that was asked of them. They did it well, and when we were asked of things on certain occasions, we didn't do it so well, and that's pretty much the sort of game.
Would you say finishing was the big difference between the two teams today?
I mean, Kate Middleton had a great, fantastic finish for the goal of the game. No, I wouldn't say it was finishing. No, I would say, like I said, that they scored a really good goal. Their third goal was a fantastic strike. But the first two really pretty self-inflicted from us. And we should have done better in both of those situations.
The season is now sadly over for us. I know we've only finished the game half an hour ago, but have you had a small amount of time to sort of reflect on what has been a really progressive season for us?
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of the players, it was their first time playing at this level. So we had to look at it, we had to look at the league, we know what it takes, we know what we need, we know what we need not to do in the future. So we've got a lot of really good information to take us into next season. So from that standpoint, it's been a really good season, we've got some really good information, we can only get better from here.
A great season overall, I'd say, in terms of the development that Colin and his team have done, and we'll be hearing from more from him on future editions of the show. Has this put you under a bit of pressure?
Thanks. I've got one of them. Go on, ask me.
Give us a bit of an update on who the reserves first of all. Have I picked the right one?
You've picked the right one. Yeah. Give me 15 minutes. I might be able to find the under 18s. But the Wycombe Wanderers Women's reserves got 3 more games. The next one is at home at Burnham's Football Stadium, the 1878 Stadium, against East Oxford Ladies. That is the 19th, which I'm guessing is this weekend.
I don't know how to break it to you. We haven't got 15 minutes. But not to worry.
14.
Thank you so much. We wish the Chair Girls all the best, of course, and as I say, we'll hear from them more from them on future editions of the Wycombe Wanderers Show. Also, worth a mention is the fact that this afternoon we were down at Adams Park for a chat with Alfie Mawson, ourselves and a number of other media outlets representing other places he's played. We're in attendance at Adams Park. We were there too.
We were. The best.
Absolutely. Really great opportunity to catch up with him and also reflect a bit on obviously his second spell at the club, and as mentioned, the game at home to Barnsley on Saturday. There'll be a presentation to Alfie on the pitch, and a great opportunity for supporters to sort of commemorate, if that's the right word, his time at the club. And as I say, we caught up with him a little earlier on.
I'd say the club hasn't changed. It's got bigger. It's attracted better players. But they're the same people, which is a key thing, because I thought obviously when you come back you like to hope it's going to be the same as when I left, and it was just the quality around the place has increased, on the pitch, off the pitch, the setup, the club's got bigger. Obviously it's been to the Championship as well, so it's been class in that, and it's just annoying that we were on a right run, and then obviously I had to make this decision. So when you're part of it, it's great. But now I was just you're just watching it, and like I said, now I'm like a fan, so I'm a bit like the old gaffer was. You see him like winning every header on the touchline and that, and I'm a bit like that. But it's just a weird way of taking a step back and looking at it. But it's all full of all the positives that it was the first time. So it's just Wycombe is what it is, mate. You see what you see from the outside. There's no underlying issues, there's no problems, there's no egos, and I think it's a perfect club for good footballers and good people.
And do you really feel the backing from fans, both your initial talent when you were first here, and more recently as well the excitement of when you signed the game?
Yeah, it was obviously a bit different, because when I first came, no one knew who I was, and I was just like, I'm just going there to go and play as much football as I can. My first professional loan, I was just buzzing, so I had no pressure, and then coming back, obviously I'd gone and done what I'd done, and there was that bit of pressure to be like, okay, well this is where I am. Like I've not changed as a person. I've adapted my game, and as I've got older, I've got more intelligent off the ball. Physically, I've gone down because I've had so many injuries and that. But it was strange for me to come back and to step out especially when my second debut was against Shrewsbury, and we were 1-0, and Gaff was like, "Oh, do you want 10 minutes?" And I was like, "Yeah, come on," and bloody JJ gives away a penalty, and we end up losing, and I was like, "Oh, I hope that's not a sign of things to come." And then my full game was against Exeter, and we got battered, and I was like, "Oh God, I'm not fit. Yeah, I'm not fit." And then from there, it was class. Dealing with anticipation, fans know what you bring on and off the pitch, and then having to go and do that. But yes, it's like I said, it's the one place I was looking forward to coming back to. So.
And also as well, it must feel so nice for you that the fans think so much of you, and people say, "Oh, you should have played more for England," and just really admired, what you went on to achieve after you left here.
No, it was brilliant. Listen, this, like I always touch on it, and I'll say I've already said it in today with you guys, is that this club was a perfect foundation for me to go and build a career, and I'm glad I did that. And so to come full circle for me was always something that I'd had in the back of my mind. And Gaz, I spoke to Gaz a lot, and Blooms and Dobbo, away from my spells here, and they've always said there's always a door open for you, this, that and the other. And like I said, I'm glad I came back here. But yeah, the fans, I love the fans here. It's a great club. It's such a family club, and like I said, my family love it here. All of my friends love it here. They love coming here. So for me to see them happy when they come here as well, that adds a little bit more, incentive to do well for the club and to go and enjoy it, because I'm not the only one just enjoying playing. My family enjoying watching and supporting the club, not just myself. So it's it gives you a little bit more of an edge, if that makes sense.
And will it feel like the games that you did play here, towards the end, will they be especially memorable, or not really? Because it's
no, definitely. I think because obviously they're the freshest in my mind. The Ipswich, the Pompeys at home, where we're getting wrote off because we're Little Wycombe, but we loved that, being the underdog, and that's where we thrive. So no, they're definitely in my mind. And yeah, just this group of lads is massive for me, because I've met so many people in football, so many that I'm lucky to have met some great people. But this group, like I said, I've said it so many times, you just can't recreate what goes on there. It's just a class knit group, it's just really just a top group of people, let alone a good set of footballers as well. The people that are in and around the training ground and here, like I said, it's class. It's good group.
And Saturday, a great opportunity for supporters to really celebrate what you've done for the club.
Yeah, like I said, I appreciate it, and it's really cool. But two of my previous clubs, and it's going to be really cool. But obviously, I'm still signed, so there's only one side I'm going to be supporting. Barnsley are flying, so it's going to be a really tough game, and it's going to be competitive. And obviously, we turned them over at their gaff 3-0, which was, to be fair, sparked their sort of season, because they had started a bit slow, and then we went there and we played really well, got a really professional result left, and then they just went up in terms of results. So they're doing really well. So it's gonna be a tough game, but I'm just gonna enjoy watching it. Yeah.
And will you still be around for the rest of the season? Perhaps
I'll be dotted around. Yeah. Obviously, like I said, we're gonna go away and that with my missus and that. But my family only live in Wokingham, so I see them, and like I said, Mum and Dad will be here all the time anyway, so I'll get myself down definitely to support the boys, 100%.
Pleasure to speak to Alfie Mawson earlier on today, and you were saying on drive time a little earlier on, good cross promotion.
Thank you.
That what a humble sort of gentleman he is.
Well, he said when he was speaking to Sam Avery, formerly of this radio station and now with some other company, he said that he didn't want any of the sort of the press, and there wasn't anything after the announcement. But he said, it's very much the Wycombe way of how to be, supporting and having that moment with the fans. And I think on Saturday, as we saw last year with Matt Bloomfield, whatever happened to him, and Akin Fenwer, that they had that big celebration and the fans on all sides, and even more so with this week, with it being a former Alfie club, that it will be it'll be really nice. I look forward to it on Saturday.
A really great atmosphere as well, and hopefully. Will reflect that in his choice of burgers, because there was a
oh yes, will there be an Alfie Mawson burger?
Yeah, there should be, shouldn't there?
Dear Will, good point of view.
Fantastic to look forward to Saturday. A brilliant atmosphere at Adams Park for the visit of Barnsley. Something we spoke to the manager Matt Bloomfield about a little earlier on, and of course how he's settling in as the manager, of course, and what he's bringing to the role.
Some of what you expect, but I think one of the special things about football management is there's always a unique set of circumstances that you don't expect presenting themselves as well. I think in the previous few months at Colchester, but also in the previous years that I'd spent at this club, set me up pretty well to know what was going to come. But also at the same time, football management has a really lovely charm of dropping in unexpected challenges along the way, which is great when you can overcome them. And obviously, it does test you from time to time. So, yeah, I was certainly prepared. I think most of what I've encountered, I was ready for. But there's some things in football management and in life, I guess, that you can't prepare for because it presents itself when you least expecting. So it's been great. I've loved it. It seems to be flying by. The days and the weeks are passing really, really quickly because there's so much that's gone on in the past few weeks. But it's been great, and I'm loving it.
Does it feel like the players are sort of playing how you'd like them to play, so your style of football, if you like?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I was here for so long with the manager before, and, a lot has tried to be made of styles and approaches of different people. And I guess everyone's, again, I'm repeating myself, but everybody is different. But I still retain a lot of the same values and principles of play that the gaffer had here before. So, yeah, you'd like to think that within time, a team does reflect its manager, and I'm certainly really, really pleased with how the boys have been playing the last couple of performances. I think Fleetwood I was really pleased with. There was many aspects of Burton that I was pleased with, irrespective of the result. There was certainly improvements we wanted to be made, and the same thing at Bristol on Tuesday. So for me, it's about focusing on those performances, trying to keep making our strengths better and rise up our weaknesses slightly, and being the best we can possibly be every day. And if we can do that, then we have to believe that the results will fall in our favour as much as possible.
Are you noticing real progression both on the training pitch but also on game day as well?
Again, I think I'm probably really mindful not to talk about too much progression in terms of, I came to a team that was, just outside the playoffs, and there's only a certain amount of progression that can be made with a team that was winning games and playing extremely well. But at the same time, of course, we want to make progression in terms of the way we're trying to do things and everything else. So not too much has changed, but, we have to be pleased with the settling in process. But, I think it's also probably wise to say that any club that changes or loses a manager that's been there for 10 years and had the degree of success that, the gaffer had here for over such a long period of time, it's always going to be, a time of transition. It's not going to be, we try to make it as smooth as possible, but of course, with such a big figure leaving the football club, there's going to be moments where you're manoeuvring through. So I'd like to think that that's been done as the best we possibly can and as smoothly as possible. And we're still moving forwards as much, the best we can.
And does it add extra excitement to Saturday, just being 3 points out the side of the playoffs and playing a team who also, promotion chasers as well?
Yeah, I guess the noise around the game is probably bigger because of those set of circumstances. I think you always find that becomes part of the narrative, which is really exciting for us as a football club. We want to be involved at this time of the season at the right end of the table, which we certainly are. But I think as a management staff, as a coaching staff, as the playing staff, we have to make sure that we approach this game in isolation. It's just one game. It's one set of tactics that we have to implement. It's one game that we have to attack the best we possibly can and try and get the best result. So, yeah, it's lovely for the outside noise to be around the clamour of the game, but for us, it's about just playing the game that's in front of us, not the occasion or the event.
And just finally, we've been speaking to Alfie, and it's great for the fans to be able to celebrate his contribution to the club in 2 spells on Saturday. And I'm sure, having played with him and been with yourself, someone that you well deserves that.
Oh, huge! Yeah, Alf is someone who has my utmost respect. I think he's first and foremost, he's an incredible man. I love him to bits. I think he's great, and what a career, what a player he was for this football club. What a career he went on to have at the very top. So he deserves all the adulation and the comments that come his way because he's a proper person. Is Alf? He was some player, a proper footballer, and it's just a shame that injuries cut that career short because we'd obviously have loved for him to continue that career at Wycombe Wanderers longer. But we're very grateful for the time that we had in both his spells here, and we're extremely pleased that we were able to share some of his journey on his football journey with him, and both inside the change room, out on the pitch, and getting to know him personally as well. So he's some man, and he deserves every adulation that comes from him Saturday.
Pleasure to speak to Matt Bloomfield a little earlier on today, and giving well-deserved credit to Alfie Mawson, something which is echoed by fans as well.
I'm glad you got out of that cupboard, by the way. We've had a message from Nigel who said Alfie Mawson is probably the most gifted footballer we've ever had the pleasure of seeing grace the pitch at either Lokes Park or Adams Park.
fantastic. I'd say something really echoed by supporters. And I know even when he had his first spell at the club, fans were really excited to see him go on and do so well at the likes of Swansea and Fulham and obviously Barnsley as well, who will be facing on Saturday. So really interesting to hear his stories today as well about some of the players that he played with and his experiences working with different managers as well.
Yeah.
So yes, much to look forward to on Saturday. If you're not going to the game, of course, you've got live commentary on 106.6 FM and also on Wanderers TV as well. Do check out pre-match drills, which is
really early
available,
today,
which you can listen to from now actually.
Yeah, no, go and listen to it now. Off you go.
And Ringing the Blues, obviously, also well worth listening. Can we endorse anything else while we're on?
Listen to something that Phil and Matt have done. They're very good and very talented.
See you next week. Up the Wick. Do people still say that?
Up the Blues.